Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada Shri Ganeshaya Namaha Om Ganganapate Namaha Om Ganganapate Namaha Om Ganganapate Namo Namaha Sarva Mangala Mangalle Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanya Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Mahalakshmi Rupena Samstita Namastase 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 Namo Namaha Om Trambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarakamiva Bandhanan Mrityormukshiyamamritat Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Om Gunatitavaksharam Brahma Bhagavan Purushottamah Jano Janandidam Satyam Muchyate Bhava Bandhanat Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Dhyanamulam Gurur Murti Mantramulam Gurur Vakyam Pujamulam Gurur Padam Mokshamulam Gurur Krupa Om Shri Swami Narayana Namah Shri Lakshmi Narayana Namah Om Shri Nar Narayana Namah Shri Krishna Narayana Namah Shri Vasudev Narayana Namah Om Parabrahmane Namah Om Aksharaya Namah Om Vishnave Namah Om Namah Shivaya Shri Hanumate Namaha Om Namo Hanumate Bhayabanjanaya Sukham Kuru Phat Swaha. Welcome to Nitya Satsang. Today is the 6th of January 2023. I would like to offer my prostrations, Dandavat Pranam, to all the great sages, past, present, future, and to the Supreme Paramatma residing in the heart of all beings. With that prarthana and intention, we are continuing to explore Sri Vivek Chudamani and to understand better what is the Anthakarna, because that clarity is needed so that we can even further become more aware of what is Anthakarna and then how that relates to what Shankaracharya ji is talking about regarding the Maya Karya Rohitam, that particular word. Towards the end of the verse number 65, what is Maya, what is Maya Karya, what is Maya Karya Rohitam, we get into all of that once we begin to understand Anthakarna. Anthakarna is a great research. There is so much research done in the field of psychology, and it is quite technical also. Just to give you a little bit of a flavor of what that is like, the Anthakarna, as we have been saying, of course, is the Ahankar, Buddhi, Manaschitta. This is the discovery from the Vedantic teachers from ancient India, and this has been there in all of the scriptures of Sanatana Dharma. But from neuropsychology and from emotional science and other areas, this is how this is described. I'm going to read something to you here, just see how tricky this can get. That emotional schemes are seen as the primary source of human emotional experience are at the base of adult human response system. A scheme is an organized internal structure or network. Emotional schemes refer to response-producing internal organizations that synthesize a variety of levels of perception of information, including sensory, motor, stimuli, emotion, memory, perception, motivation, action, and conceptual level information. Now, if you hear that, your buddhi will say, my God, I don't understand anything in that. This is how deeply this has been studied. I'm going to break it up for you and try to explain it carefully, because if you go through the literature, these are the kinds of sentences that are there, and if you read them, you'll say, wait a minute, this is too confusing. You cannot make any heads or tails out of it. Remember, the research done is of two types. One type is internal, intuitive, introspective research. This is one path. This is the path of the rishis. They said, we want to find out who am I. So let's go inside. Let's start meditating inside. Synchronizing the breath. We talked about this before. And in doing so, there is the awareness of this Anthakarna. Awareness is a quality of the Atma. Awareness, I can see how Ahankar works. We can see what is intelligence, how it works, what it does. And from there, they developed all these classifications to explain Anthakarna. We have been examining it in our own way, through the studies that I have done over the years. But it is. I mean, you could spend 1,000 lifetimes trying to study this, and you still cannot scratch the surface of it. It's that profound. Yeah, if you go through the number of dissertations written on the mind and on the different parts of the mind, there are hundreds of thousands. It's not just thousands, hundreds of thousands of PhD dissertations have been written, and still they cannot get to the bottom of what is Anthakarna. Itni alokik baat. And forget about the Atma. Atma ko to baat hi alag hai. So what is the approach to take? The approach taken by the rishis is to directly see yourself what is the mind. is to directly see it. Now, how do we do that? How can we directly see what is happening inside my mind? This is where our connection with Ishta Devata in Bhakti, this is very relevant to bring about the awareness that, oh, this is the mind. How does that work? For example, let's say Sachin is worshipping Sri Krishna, as an example. Sachin says, no, I love Sri Krishna, ye mere Ishta Devata hai, I love the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Ras Leela and all the charitras, and Bhagwan ke saath बहुत आनंद होता है भक्ति करने के लिए. That's a stage, right? It's a stage of development. Ishta Bhakti. You can do that with Bhagwan Shankar, you can do that with even particular guru if you want, but it is up to you actually. What is natural? But now let's look at what happens in this. If I start saying that I want to worship Bhagwan Sri Krishna, as an example, how do I do that first of all? Well, first of all, you need a murti. Bhagwan ki murti honi chahiye. ठीक है ना? And then if you have Shri Radha Rani, Radhika Jivat Sri Krishna, that is even better. That is even, I mean, it's not better necessarily, but it is good to have Shri Radha Ji with Sri Krishna. And then you also need scripture. You need Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, that are connected with Bhagwan Sri Krishna. So Bhagwan ki jo murti hai, Bhagwan sambandhi, meaning that the scriptures connected to that swarup. This is how you do the upasana, and then we'll get to what this how it connects with Anthakarna. Then we also have the puja paraphernalia. You have the incense sticks and divas and all those things are there. Then you also have a place to sit in front of the Lord, in front of the Swarupa Paramatma, with a mala, with a rosary bead, and there's a mantra. The Bhagwan Krishna ke anant mantra hai, bahut hi mantra hai. So you have one primary mantra. Now, how do you know which mantra to do? This is where the gurus come into the picture. There are many different gurus, there are many different mantras, and those gurus that have realized Sri Krishna, जिसको भगवान का जो साक्षात करे, श्री कृष्ण का साक्षात करे, you can always go to them, and if you know that they have realized this, and they can also give mantra. This is one way. इसको diksha कहते हैं. This is like a dikshit mantra. This is one way to go. Another way to go is that if you're not sure about the different gurus and all that, then there are some standard mantras that are present, and you can always make Bhagwan Shankar and Hanuman Ji your guru. No problem. You can make Ganesh Ji your guru also. You can even just make Sri Krishna your guru also. No problem. Guru, it is you are the one who is going to make the guru. It's nobody else. I mean, organizations are promoting different gurus and say, we love them, respect them, bahut hi acha hai. No problem. But it should come from inside. Yes, this is a real saint. And actually, in reality, in the general sense, we learn good things from everybody. Everybody's guru in that sense, in that universal sense. But we're talking about upasana in bhakti here. So in that situation, a mantra is required. Right? So there are many mantras. So for example, if you go to ISKCON organization, amazing organization, beautiful. So unka kya main mantra? Everybody knows this, right? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Ye bahut adbhut mantra hai. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ji has given this mantra from the Vedas, but he reversed it. The original mantra is actually Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And then he turned it around to emphasize Sri Krishna Bhagwan. So one can follow the edict of a particular Guru Parampara. And that is one way to obtain the mantra. If you go to the other sampradayas that are there, the worshipping Sri Krishna, there are other mantras are there. Like Sri Krishnam Tvam Gatir Mama. In Shikshapatri, Sajanand Swami Maharaj gave the Agnya to his devotees to chant the Ashtakshara mantra. So wo Ashtakshara mantra kisne diya hai? Originally from Ramanujacharya. Ramanujacharya to Ramanand Swami to Sajanand Swami, and then he put that inside the Shikshapatri. So ये जो Ramanujacharya का साक्षात्कार मंत्र है, that he has realized भगवान का जो स्वरूप है वैकुंठ और गोलोक में, that is Sri Krishnam Tvam Gatir Mama. This is called Ashtakshara mantra. Then there's also Om Namo Narayanaya. So these are all Vaishnavi mantras, right? You select a mantra. There's also Sri Krishnam Sharanam Mama. We have heard that mantra. That is from Vallabha Sampradaya. So Vallabhacharya, the devotees of Vallabhacharya, उनका सिद्धांत है शुद्धाद्वैत वेदांतिक सिद्धांत. We have not talked about all those things yet. Sometime in the future, maybe next year or 2 or 3 years from now, we might get there. Because we have to cover Vivek Chudamani first, before we get to Shuddhadvait and Vishishtadvait, and all those things are even more profound than even Advait Vedanta. Or they can be potentially more profound and difficult to understand. But the point is that there are different mantras given by different gurus. So Vallabhacharya gave Sri Krishnam Sharanam Mama, Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. That is also Ashtakshara mantra. Then the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. वो भी मंत्र है, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. In YouTube also has all these mantras. Point is, select one mantra. See, now when we select one mantra, connected to the Ishta Devata. So भगवान का जो स्वरूप है, जो विग्रह, दिव्य विग्रह जिसको अर्चा अवतार कहते हैं. When we have a murti of Sri Krishna, it is not just an idol or some symbol or like that. ऐसा नहीं है. For a bhakta, जो भक्त भगवान के जो भक्त है वो साक्षात परमात्मा का स्वरूप ऐसी मान्यता है. इट इज इन गुजराती वी से મૂર્તિમાંથી પાષાણ ભાવ અને ચિત્રામણનો ભાવ નીકળવો જોઈએ. We say, oh, this is just a picture, it is just a stone. Well, you have to remove that bhav from inside of you and see that this is Paramatma itself. That same Paramatma that is beyond everything and present everywhere, is present in the heart of all, is present in this form in front of me right now. That is how the bhakti is done. This is called Swarup Nishta. You see, we cannot do the bhakti with doubts. Sanshay Atma Vinashati. In Bhagavad Gita mein likha hai, once you have doubts, ye to kya hai, this is a picture, this is a stone, this is this is that. Usme se bhakti nahi hoti fir. Cannot activate bhakti that way, right? So I'll give you a simple example here. If you have a $100 bill, $100 note with the Benjamin Franklin picture on there, what is it actually? It's a piece of paper, right? So if somebody says, oh, this is a piece of paper, it has no meaning at all, no value. Give it to a 1-year-old kid, 2-year-old kid, he'll just throw it and tear it apart and all that. But that $100 bill, we remove from our mind the notion that this is just a piece of paper. What do we bring into the mind? Oh my God, this is an energy, it's a power. It can buy so much grocery, it can buy my grocery for the whole week. It can do so much, right? So that bhavna that this is a piece of paper, yes, it is a piece of paper, but you are seeing its potential power. Nobody is going to treat a $100 bill as a piece of paper. It's not going to happen. Is it a piece of paper? Yes. But what is in that? Because of its functionality, you can go to any store and buy all kinds of things with that. And get actually the gallons of milk and bread and groceries. So much is inside that one piece of paper. Similarly, in the murti of Paramatma, Bhagwan Sri Krishna ki jo murti hai, for example, when we consider in our heart, through bhakti bhav, that this is Paramatma, इसको निश्चय कहते हैं, इसको स्वरूप निश्चय, and that निश्चय is inside the buddhi. We have been talking about this, right? Smriti, Nidra, Sanshay, Nishchay. That Nishchay, I'm giving you an example now, exactly how that works. So you have a murti in front of you, and the Nishchay, Nishchay develops that this is Paramatma. How does it develop? It develops through satsang, by reading the Gita, by listening to the sages' talks, by listening to Katha, Kirtan, Srimad Bhagavatam. From that, a conviction develops कि ये Paramatma है, ये Paramatma थे in human form, and now that Paramatma is present in this Murti form, Archa form. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 8 forms of Murti are described. And the 9th, as per Vachanamrut, Sajanand Swami said, जो भगवान के जो बड़े-बड़े संत हैं, वो भी एक भगवान का स्वरूप भी हम कह सकते हैं. That's the 9th Murti. This is written in Vachanamrut, Garada Pratham number 68. So the point is that when we have Nishchay means conviction that it is so. Now the feeling that this is a stone image goes away. ये भगवान है, मैं उनका भक्त हूँ. ठीक है? That bhavna comes. And then the mantra is used. So now how this works? When we say, for example, let's say we use the mantra Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Given, you can chant the mantra, no problem. Or Hare Krishna mantra, anybody can chant that, no problem. तो इसका मीनिंग भी समझना चाहिए. मंत्र का मीनिंग क्या है? See, when we say Hare Krishna, for example, the mantra is Hara plus Krishna. People don't know this thing actually. People think Hare means like you're just glorifying Bhagwan. That's true, but that's not its actual full meaning. The actual word is Hara. When you put Hara plus Krishna is Hare Krishna, and Hara is Radhika ji. Hara is the great infinite power within the Brahmand and outside the Brahmand. Ananta Koti Brahmand ki jo Shakti hai, that is Hara, in from the Vaishnava angle. Now I'm giving example from Vaishnava side. We've talked many times about from the Shaiva side. Now we can talk from the Vaishnava angle. Hara is the great Haladini Shakti. इसको क्या कहते हैं? राधिका जी कौन है? वो हलादिनी शक्ति है. अभी ये सब समझने के लिए you have to go through all the satsang and scriptures. It's a बहुत आगे की बात है. It's a very advanced subject. But the point is the mantra Hare Krishna. Actually, in Sanskrit, if you say it properly, it's Hare Krishna. This word Krishna or Krishna, these are all mispronunciations in reality. But it's okay, it doesn't matter. Bhagwan ko, it doesn't, because people in North India say Krishna. In Gujarat, they say Krishna. The actual pronunciation is Krishna. This is the right pronunciation. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. So all throughout India, these mantras are mispronounced completely. So they're not, because they're in Sanskrit, but it doesn't matter. They're based on the original languages and they pronounce it this way. Like in Gujarat, people don't say Krishna, they say Krishna. That's a total mispronunciation. But that is based on the language. The word is in Sanskrit. The Sanskrit language should not be mispronounced ideally. But Bhagwan to bhav ke bhuke, it doesn't matter. But it should be pronounced as clearly as possible. So Hare Krishna. We say Hare Krishna. We are all used to saying Hare Krishna, right? but the fact is that the word is Krishna. And also to understand its meaning. That Hara is that great infinite power. So this is a Vedic mantra. And when we speak the mantra with the understanding of what it is, the vibration of the mantra, the swarup of the mantra that is outside, Bhagwan ki jo murti that is outside, that links with the mantra inside. And on the tongue of the devotee, Bhagwan ke saath, through the mantra, iske saath sambandh jodta. It's a bonding. It's a bhakta Bhagwan sambandha. See this point. Where does that sambandha occur? Inside this Anthakarna. Ahankar, Buddhi, Manas, Chitta. In all four, this sambandha occurs. Uske saath sambandha is called it is an internal connection with Ishta Devata. So how does it work? When we start speaking the mantra, let's say it is speaking the mantra with the love and bhakti, with that seva bhav, bhakti bhav, with prem, with love one is speaking the mantra. With the love inside the heart. Love inside, that is bhakti. But bhakti is through mahima, mahatmya. Is the glory. That has to be understood in the buddhi. So inside the buddhi, there is the glory of who is Sri Krishna. Then who is Sri Krishna? One goes through the scriptures, one goes to various satsang places and feels that yes, ye kaun, ye Bhagwan, that feeling is there. That bhav is there. So through bhakti bhav that comes about, it awakens inside, mantra is spoken. You see, so when mantra is spoken, with bhakti bhav, the amount of bhav inside that is connecting with the mantra, it is only to that extent that there is linkage with Paramatma. Now what is this bhav? Bhav means what? Bhav means emotion. Where is this emotion in this Anthakarna? This emotion is actually present in all four of these. But primarily, it is present inside the manas. Inside the manas, you'll find primarily the emotion is primarily present there. Because we experience emotion. So our emotion, this is called Lagani in Gujarati, but these are so many emotions actually. They are dynamic. Emotions are changing. So when we are developing bhakti, when bhakti develops inside, that has tremendous healing power. It actually heals the damage inside the Anthakarna. ये एक बड़ी दवा है. It's not some hallucination or delusion. ये क्या सब मंदिर and bhakti and bhajan bhakti and all this thing. It's not like that. It is healing all the damage inside the Anthakarana when the emotion is connected with mantra, connected with Ishta Devata through Guru Krupa, and through that, when that connection is established, Bhakti Bhav opens. And when that Bhakti opens, emotion that is dynamic, it is moving in certain directions in our life, within our internal system. The emotion becomes Shuddha emotion. It becomes purified. The purification process is what starts when we start speaking mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. We say, everybody's now used to saying Krishna, so it's okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. How beautiful. But what is the feeling inside? What is the understanding inside? From that, the purification begins. And the Anthakarana becomes steady, it becomes purified, it becomes more and more infused. It's an infusion, infused with the mantra and the vibration of the mantra. That is one thing that happens. Also the buddhi, through its contemplation, manan, nididhyasan and chintan, right? Shravan, manan, nididhyasan, this is all buddhi function. That is buddhi function in the intellect. It can go through the scriptures as we're doing here. We are contemplating together. We're doing manan chintan together. So when we are doing manan chintan of the scriptures, we're sitting for contemplation with others or with ourselves or with the scriptures. That is also highly, highly purifying. It purifies the buddhi. It is a purifier of the buddhi. You know, like how we have that air purifier? You know that machine that is there, the air purifier? The air goes through that and then it brings out the pure air. We have a water purifier. We have air purifier. Similarly, the mantras in the Sanatana Dharma, the Shastras in the Sanatana Dharma, the contemplation, Manan Chintan, using the scriptural understanding, it is a purifier of the buddhi. It cleans up the buddhi. Because the buddhi is clogged with rag, dvesh, aham, mamatva. It is clogged with the worldly experiences. It is a massive clog, massive block. Fear, tension, so many things. And it is thinking continuously of just this world and its vasanas and ichhas and desires, and that's all. It goes on. How I can progress further in this material world. Most people are along those lines. And not only that, it is getting fragmented and dispersed again and again. So of course we have to live in the world. Living in the world becomes very easy once the buddhi is purified. Once the buddhi is purified, that means that the intellectual power becomes very, very harmonized from inside. It is a lot of harmony is there. You can see things from all sides. You know what they say, right? जिसके पास धीरज है जीवन में has much broader vision. Once we have patience, we can see things in a much broader way. And जो ज्ञानी है उसको अनंत लोचन. They can see from all sides. That is the power of the buddhi. So the buddhi gets purified in manan chintan. The mind gets purified using mantra sadhana and bhajan kirtan. Bhajan, kirtan, mantra sadhana, the mind gets purified. The ahankar gets purified saying, I belong to Bhagwan. I'm at the feet of Paramatma. इसको शरणागति कहते हैं. भगवान का एक नाम है शरणागत वत्सल. भगवान के शरण में हम जाएंगे in the real sense from inside. You don't have to worry about anything. He takes care of everything. But we have to do. That part we can do. You know, sarvadharman paritajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayishyami ma shucha. Bhagavad Gita. So ahankar gets turned over. इसको समर्पण हो जाता है कि मैं आपका हूँ. I'm yours. I'm a child. I'm your child only. In Christianity, it is like that also. In so many traditions, it is like this. Ahankar gets turned over. And so what happens to the ahankar? It gets infused with divya jnana. That aham brahmasmi, that I am the Atma. By turning the ahankar over to Paramatma and saying, I am yours, by the krupa of Paramatma, that ahankar naturally gets the light of the Atma. And the ahankar is no longer the ahankar in its usual sense. That ahankar that is connected with its normal, usual ego function, it starts to identify with the Atma. That ayam Atma Brahma, Mahavakya of Upanishad. The 4 Mahavakyas, ayam Atma Brahma, Tattvamasi, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, Soham, Aham Brahmasmi. There's six like this actually. This awareness that I am the Atma occurs through Ishta Nishta, by Ishta Devata ki Nishta. The more Nishta and more connection we have with Ishta Devata, through what we're saying here, through Shravan, Manan, Nididhasan, Bhajan, Kirtan, Mantra Sadhana, Guru Seva, all those things, Tad Viddhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya. That is in the Bhagavad Gita. If you have great sages who are Anubhavi, jisko Anubhav ho gaya hai, and we can, together, like all of us, we can also do contemplation through scriptures, learn from each other. That's fine. But when there are enlightened, awakened sages, Bhagwan kya kehte usme? Tad Viddhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya. That you can go to them, ask them question. But see, even there is the way to ask the question. The question, a real question, is asked by a true mumukshu for enlightenment. You're not just throwing questions for just for the sake of throwing them. It's not like that. It's like somebody who is thirsty says, I want a glass of water. That is different from somebody who is not even thirsty and says, I want a glass of water. It's a very, very big difference. It's like that. So the point is that the ahankar gets turned over, or Bhagwan ki krupa se, when this Anthakarna, this entire Anthakarna gets absorbed inside the Swarup of Paramatma, that is the height of purification. All 4 become Shuddha. They become Shuddha. Now, how does the Chitta become Shuddha? What is the Chitta, first of all? Chitta is the whole memory structure. So it gets purified. In what sense? It's very easy to understand. The more we connect with Bhagavan, all of the past memories and everything, they are left alone. We are not playing inside the mud of the past. How much material is there in the Chitta? Infinite amount of material. We're not even aware of most of it. We are only aware of certain percentage only. But we know in our dreams and inside all of our memory structure, it keeps coming back again and again. It's the entanglement of the memories in the past. So we cannot come out of that mud pool. It's terrible. Rag, dvesh, aham, mamatva, attachments upon attachments upon attachments. The Jivatma is drowning inside this Chitta. That is what it is. From lifetime to lifetime is drowning, not just this lifetime. So how to come out of that? We cannot come out of it ourselves. That is why we have to attach the Antakaran to Bhagavan, who is beyond Maya. And when we attach the Chitta to Paramatma, meaning what? The infusion of the Swarup, Bhagwan ka Swarup, Bhagwan ki Bhakti, Bhagwan ka Gnan, this we start to accumulate that memory. And once we start to fill the Chitta with divyata, with all of the divine memories and divine experiences, Lila Charitra, Bhagwan ki Lila Charitra, all the different sadhana we do, all the different scriptures, different ideas, the mind is filling with that. Even though we're living in the world, we are not filling the mind with just external experience that is going to create more and more bondage inside. We only put that much experience that is needed so that we can evolve further towards God. Otherwise, one will be lost in the jungle of the sansar. It's a jungle. I mean, all you have to do is turn the TV on, put on Netflix, and start flipping through all those things, and your mind will be jumping from, and the more you watch all that stuff, everything is recorded. Think about this point. If you watch a 7-serial series, 7-season, on any subject, any particular series, all those characters, those storylines, all their bhav, all the scenes, everything is recorded inside the chitta. We have to decide as human beings and as an intelligent being through the buddhi, the buddhi needs to decide what to put inside the chitta. Sachin has to decide every day what should go inside the chitta. Just like when we are eating food, we have to decide to make sure it is not decayed, it is not stale, it is not, what is the effect of that food on my digestion, on my mind, on my body, on my organs, what is my diet, my medication. We have to pay attention to make sure the food is not poisonous. First of all, something smells bad, bread with all the mold and everything else. Will we eat that? Take a loaf of bread and it has mold and it's got all the bacteria, and you open it, oh my God, it's been sitting in the fridge for the last 2 months. It's become green, the whole thing. It's bahut acha, let's eat this. All this 99% of the stuff that is on all these TV channels is worse than all that molded bread. It is damaging the whole human consciousness. These newspapers, TV channels, the continuous overstimulation. Now the movies that they're making have so much stimulation. The chitta cannot keep up with that. It is being bombarded. If you watch one movie, it will absolutely create chaos inside the chitta. Just one movie will do that. Think about that. And it will cause so much disturbance. One has to be very careful what to put inside this chitta. It doesn't mean we don't live in the world of experience. We do. And if we're going to watch certain things, we're going to interact with certain people, do certain things, one has to be on guard. What is the impact on the inner world? Otherwise, the chitta is going to get so much chaos inside. For example, if you watch any one movie, there are so many violent scenes. Not only that, there are stories of attachments. One person is in love with somebody else. There's a love triangle. Now there's a love square. There's a love pentagon, and all kinds of crazy things are going on, and people are very complex stories. And the Jivatma is getting lost in that world. It doesn't mean one doesn't watch all these things. You may watch, but it's up to you. Sachin is not saying anything. Each person has to see for themselves what to put inside this chitta, because you know what? It's going to remain there for your whole life. You watch one horror movie. Some people love to watch those horror movies. You watch one horror movie, that horror will come in your own life. It will be programmed inside of you. This is why one has to be on guard. What should I put inside my chitta? Through all the 5 senses. Through the eyes, through the ears. Let's use another example. If we have a friend circle and one person starts talking negatively, something negative, some story, something about some other person to create a little bit of disturbance. Isne ye kiya, this person did this. We get so lost in that. You see, so the chitta is, most of humanity has massive problems inside this chitta. And what is the result? Nightmares, damage to the mind, conflict upon conflict, and getting lost inside those worlds. If for example, people who watch a lot of these movies and like Hindi movies and things like that, all those actors and actresses are sitting inside our head. Is that what we want in our head? We have to ask. Who do we want inside our mind? What do we want inside our mind? This is the question. It doesn't mean we don't interact. We do interact. But remember, it is going to get programmed. There's no way to avoid that. There's no way to avoid it. Even if we watch NBC News, let's say for half an hour every day, the person giving the news, the stories and all that, of course we have to be aware of that. But it gets programmed. Now, through buddhi, we have to recognize that this is a content inside the chitta. That content, leave it alone. Because you cannot live in this world without interacting. We cannot live in this world without interacting with the world. So the content that is programmed every day, we recognize that it's there, but you recognize it through jnana, through an understanding that what it is, and you leave it alone. And you don't unnecessarily think too much about it to solidify it. You understood it, leave it alone. You watch certain things. The ability to leave it alone and the ability to just see that as a play of Maya, that is where karma doesn't get accumulated. These are very intricate things to do. It's not easy because, if let's say Sachin watches half an hour NBC News, you know what will happen? I'll be thinking about, his mind is going to think about that. He's going to think about that for next many hours, many days. It will keep thinking in different ways. One has to be aware how much of this mental energy we have to use behind that. We think about it a little bit, see it for what it is. See it for what it is. That is Gnan Drishti, and leave it alone. That is Chitta Vritti Nirodha. And when you leave it alone, then again attach the mind to Bhagwan. So the leaving alone the experience and then recognizing that the mind is impacted, recognize your own state. And once you recognize, because see what happens when we watch disturbing things, the mind has to process that. It has to think about it, process it, and it's trying to get to a state of zero disturbance. This entire Anthakarna inside of us is trying to get to a zero disturbance state. But once we keep adding stuff inside, it has to keep processing, use energy to do that. Best thing to do is to have viveka, to say, wait a minute, I'm going to put certain restriction. I'm going to watch these things. I'm going to talk about these things, listen to these things, go to these places, leave everything else alone. Keep a distance from it without disrespecting it, disliking it. Let that go in its own way. That is a decision we have to make with food. We have to make with our eyes, with our ears, the Panch Jnanindriya. Because most of humanity is damaged in this Anthakarna. Most 99.999% has massive damage of this Anthakarna. Itna damage, and to fix that damage, more energy is dumped inside there. If you turn on the morning news at 6 o'clock, ABC News, NBC News, you will see at least 5 or 6 stories of people being killed. You will see somebody being robbed, some fire somewhere. This is what they print. And that's, oh my God, what does it do? ये जो अहंकार है ना हमारे में, this ahankar becomes active. It identifies with that and it gets shocked. Oh my God, this is a terror. So it's a heightened energy. And then it's like a brain becomes more active through the fight, flight, freeze response. When we watch those scenes, so like a 3-alarm fire or somebody being shot or somebody being imprisoned, this is what they show 90% of the time. Just in the news I'm talking about. So the ahankar gets very, very much involved, and then it hears all that, it sees all that, and then it thinks, oh my God, how terrible. But so it is a polluted state. The Anthakarna is polluted within just 5 to 10 minutes. You know how serious this is? If we do sadhana, let's say Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama, let's say Sachin does sadhana for 3 or 4 days with bhajan, kirtan, mantra, sadhana, sab kuch, right? I do all of that with a lot of bhakti bhav. I'm aware of what to put in my mind, what not to put on mind, all that, and I'm keeping the mind very steady. And then I turn on this morning news just for 5 minutes. That 5 minutes of scenes and the hatred and all this thing. Now what do you do with that? You cannot live in this world without watching some of those things. You have to see it through Jnana, that these things are there, they have nothing to do with the Atma. This is part of the world of Prakriti. I've seen it through, turn it off, enough. But if we don't do that, that 5 minutes of watching that people were killed and hurt and they show some dead body and whatever they show, it wipes out a whole 4 or 5 days of sadhana. 5 days of mantra sadhana, bhajan, kirtan, sab zero ho jata hai isme. This is the battle inside. This is the Kurukshetra inside. आध्यात्मिक to realize the Atma is it's इसमें मन बहुत स्थिर होना चाहिए. And when we start watching these things and without Gnan, if we watch it with Gnan, then you can turn the whole thing around internally and say, okay, I see that this is Rajogun, this is Tamogun. You see it through the eyes of Adhyatma, Adhyatmik Drishti se dekhna. But even then, there is going to be the memories of those things that you have to deal with. You cannot avoid it. How can anybody avoid that? If Sachin watches 15 minutes of morning news, there are 7 stories of somebody being killed and some fire somewhere, and then some political story going on. My mind is going to be thinking about that. Okay, so I know about it. But through Gnan, it's called Gnan Agni. Gnana Agni. Isko sab bhasma kar dena chahiye. It is there, but it is not there. That is why in Bhagwan Shankar puts that Tripunda, that vibhuti on the forehead. Why is that? Experience is there, experience remains. You have it is in the memory, but you are de-identified with that. You are not involved in that. The moment we get involved in that, we are going to be colored. The Anthakarna is going to be colored by that experience, and it is going to bind the jiva, the Atma Tattva. It binds the jiva further. And then one sinks inside there. What shows up at night time? The whole Swapna Avastha gets damaged. So one has to be very, very on guard about what is happening inside the Anthakarana. And without that being on guard, the Anthakarana is so sensitive that it will take the color of anything that it is associated with. But the problem of the Anthakarana is such that the vasanas inside are wanting more experience of that type. Somebody watches a romance film, they said, oh, I want that romance. Then one is when said Rajogun, Tamogun, etc. That continues. And that can continue for lifetime after lifetime. Because it is definitely an experience. We cannot deny that it exists. So the vasanas inside, they come up again, and the more they come up, the more experience one seeks. And then to that extent, one is bound and trapped inside that experience, rather than mastery of that experience. When Bhagwan Krishna says, "Me devo me kam devhu," that is the mastery of the experience. Otherwise, Rajogun, Tamogun, the different vasanas, one is the victim of the experience. We don't want to be victims of the experience of the world. We want to be able to masterfully move through the experiences of the world without binding, and with, at the same time, keeping alive the spiritual realization, adhyatmic awakening. Otherwise, the Jivatma will be bound lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. That is the fact. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jatare shayanam. The point is here, Anthakarana should be kept very, very pure. Just, I think, in a summary, we can say this much: be aware. What is going inside my mind? And if I'm going to connect on the spiritual side, if I want to evolve further through the chakras and through the Agnya chakra, Sahasrara chakra, I want to go beyond. Bhagwan ke saath sambandh jodna. And then once we connect with Bhagwan, we can easily see the function of Maya. It's very easy to see, oh, this is Rajogun, this is Tamogun. Isme kya hai? Isme kuch nahi. It's childish, actually. And one says, one doesn't go into that. One goes into higher contemplation. It is a big transition. That is the power of satsanga. That is the power of adhyatmic contemplation. ये एक दिवस का काम नहीं है. बहुत काल करत सत्संगा, तब बहुत संशय का बंगा. But in Gujarati we say jagya tathi savar. It's like this. Whenever we wake up on these truths, we start the process. Doesn't matter. But that is the power, right? So every single day, nothing to worry about. Whatever has happened in the past, leave it alone. Come to the present. Recognize that our Anthakarana, each person's Anthakarana, is a great gift of Paramatma. And that we can utilize this for much greater evolution and development, further and further and further. And in doing so, what is the goal? Ananda. The Atma begins to open. The realization of the Atma begins to open. And that is Ananda. So we see, this is Ananda. We can easily see the binding aspects inside the sansar. We're not taking anybody's fault or anything. We're just seeing what happens in the sansar, how it is connected, what we are doing, and where we are headed. This is the whole point, right? So lots of beautiful ideas here. We'll talk more about this Anthakarana. It is a very, very intricate and highly researched subject. So this research of emotions, research of memories and thoughts, these are very profound ideas, but we are putting them in easy to understand ways that are applicable. Otherwise, that is another jungle, the research jungle. वो भी एक जंगल ही है. But what is it that we want from here? We want the purification, shuddhata, antakarana shuddhi. In Vedanta, this is a big idea, antakaran ki shuddhi, or shuddha antakaran. Once it is shuddha, it opens up the divinity. That is divya. The emotion, let me just close by saying this, emotion that is within the three gunas of Maya jumps into shuddha emotion, shuddha sattvamaya, vishuddhi chakra. And from there, it jumps further into divya emotion, divya bhav. दिव्य भाव इज डिवाइन. दिव्य भाव वो भगवान के कनेक्शन में होता है. वो एक लेवल ही अलग है. इसको दिव्य भाव कहते हैं, दिव्य अनुभूति कहते हैं, इसको दिव्यता की अनुभूति कहते हैं. देन वन लिव्स इन दिस वर्ल्ड विद अ डिवाइन विजन, लाइक भगवान राम गोइंग इन द होल forest and going everywhere. He's living with divine vision. He's not living with binding vision. These are the ideas. So let's stop here for today. I went a little over time, and then we will continue on this tomorrow for sure. Okay, so.